Greetings, everyone. Jim Walker here. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back to all returning viewers. Just a quick topic for this video. Not a huge earth-shattering topic, but one that comes up once in a while, and I thought I'd share my 2 pence about it. Rivets in bottom hi-hat cymbals. Should you do it? What's the benefits? For years, I was curious about this. I knew Steve Gadd used them, and you did a discussion of this on drum forums. Guys would swear by it. They say it's subtle, yes, but I can't go back. Now that I've got rivets in the heights, I love that sound. Jazz guys primarily, not exclusively. And I knew it was Steve Gadd, and then I started to hear, Mick Fleetwood swears by this, and then Bunny Carlos is apparently a huge devotee of the sound, and who am I forgetting here? Adam Nussbaum apparently is a big fan of having rivets in the bottom cymbal. Cymbalsmith Nicky Moon down in New Jersey. I just heard him in a podcast. I apologize for not remembering which podcast. I mean, no disrespect by that, but he was, if I remember correctly, Mr. Moon was saying that it was a sound, something that he thought more drummers should explore. I've tried it. I want to share the results, how I got to deciding to put rivets into cymbals, again, a couple of my hi-hat cymbals, and whether or not I think it was worth it. So again, for years this was a curiosity of mine. Never, even though I've drilled cymbals for rivets, ride cymbals and China cymbals. I've got a drill press. I've got no compunction about doing it. Touch wood. I've been very successful. Have not damaged any cymbals. Haven't caused any cracks from any of the holes I've drilled. If you do it carefully, I make no guarantees. If you're going to try this on your own, but it should be easily done without any big problems, especially if you got a drill press and you take it slowly and you keep some sort of oil or lubricant on the spot where you're drilling to keep the temperature down. But this is not about how to drill cymbals. It may be a topic for another video. It's out there. I think other people have addressed that already. But again, curious for a while, and just didn't want to put rivets in any of the hi-hat cymbals I had. I just liked them the way they were. The curiosity remained. And one day, I was searching around online, and I found a set of 602 pre-serial 602 hi-hats for sale. And the price was good. Like everything else recently, the prices seem to have gone through the roof for everything. And people seem to have gotten hip to pre-serial 602s in the last 10 years or so, because I'm not finding anywhere near as many or at as favorable prices as when I first got into these myself, about a decade ago. The word has gotten out. It's like acrylates now. The word has gotten out. But I found a set for sale, and very favorably priced, because the bottom cymbal had a big crack in the edge. I thought, I can deal with this. Perfect opportunity. And it was priced, basically I was paying for the top cymbal, and the bottom cymbal was being thrown in. It was that's how much I was paying for it, which is why I got out the plastic and took a shot at it. And I figured, if I'm going to take this cymbal and drill to try and file to try to what's the word I'm looking for? Not expedite, but try to diminish the effects of the crack in the cymbal. If I'm already going to put the drill press on it for that, perfect opportunity. Let's get this one and put some rivets in it. So this is the cymbal in question. This is 902 gram, for those of you keeping score at home, pre-serial 602 14-inch, and you can see two spots here. I don't know which is going to show up better, maybe against my black shirt here. There's another story for another time. In the ad it said one crack, and when I got it shipped to me, it was shipped basically in, and this is not from a person in his garage, this is from a store, which I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to get into it online and name them. They basically took a piece of cardboard, folded it over as a sandwich, taped it up, and sent it with the two cymbals just smacked inside. It was about this thick. And when it got here, there was another crack in it. So be that as it may. Okay, fine. I paid for what I got. Not worth, even though it kind of sticks in my craw the way they packed it. I'm going to press on. So I had the crack. So I had to mitigate. That's the word I'm looking for. To mitigate the damage. You can see this drill hole right there, and I filed it down. I tried to keep as much of the metal as possible. guy on Facebook on one of the Paiste forums just took me to task. Like, that's ugly. That's horrible. Why'd you do that? Why wouldn't you just cut it down? Well, I wouldn't cut it down because this is like 1.5 inches in. And if I take 1.5 inches off of the circumference, I'm left with an 11-inch bottom hi-hat cymbal. And what am I going to do with an 11-inch bottom hi-hat cymbal? So, made the cuts, left as much metal, cleared it up so I wouldn't have metal touching metal and vibrating, and then dropped in 4 rivets. And put this up, and this will be one, you will hear 3 tracks in a moment that I recorded with a microphone put onto the hi-hats to try to maximize the audibility of it. In fact, let me skip to that right now. This will be one of the 3 cymbal bottoms. Same cymbal top, 3 different cymbal bottoms. The first one I recorded, I'm not going to bother taking it off, is another pre-serial 602. Same weight. Is it the same year pre-serial? You can't tell. It's before 72. That's all we know for the Paiste pre-serials. But the same weight, no rivets, and then a 602 bottom with 4 rivets in it, and the same top on all of these, like an 836 gram, again, pre-serial 602. If you've been watching this channel at all, you know I'm a big fan. And the third cymbal is going to be a Paiste Traditionals with a couple of rivets in it. And you'll get a chance to hear back to back to back these 3 comparisons and decide for yourself whether it's audible enough. So, started with no rivets. In this particular cymbal, I put in rivets. And honestly, I'll probably put the timestamp into the description if you want to skip ahead. No spoiler alerts. I'm going to tell you what I found, and then you can take a listen to it, or maybe I'll edit this and put the playing first and then extemporize about it after you've heard it. If I don't do that, then I will put a link, and you can fast forward and check that out if you want to listen with your ears with no previous bias in place. Spoiler alert notwithstanding, pressing on, put the rivets in, and when I play the cymbal by itself, plenty obvious. But one reason why I was so leery of doing this for so long is I knew it would be a subtle effect. Now, when are you going to have a hi-hat cymbal and do this in the course of playing a gig? Pretty rare. Maybe on a jazz ballad you might catch it a little bit. Very specific circumstances, if that. But when you play it, either the cymbals are going to be closed, top and bottom. You won't really hear the rivets. If the cymbals are just open slightly, you get the sound of the cymbals. You won't hear the rivets. But I took a dive and I tried it anyway. And when I put this one up, I really couldn't hear the rivets. When I put it on the kit and played, I couldn't hear the rivets. Took it over to a friend of mine, hello Mark, who I'm sure is watching this video. Had him check it out. I said, can you hear the rivets? He said, actually no. So, kind of put this down under the price of getting some experience on this, and chalked it up to trying. And now I know. So, but it kept bugging me. Said, why do these guys, Nussbaum and Gad, they swear by this? There's got to be something there that I'm missing. And it occurred to me at a certain point that there is a basic pitch, and this is what I want to share here. This is there's a basic pitch of sorts. I don't know if the microphone's going to catch that, but the sound of the rivets has a basic pitch range. And what I realized is either this cymbal or the top I was using, the cymbal itself was in the same basic pitch range. And a cymbal is going to be a lot louder than a rivet. So this was not the best candidate for that. If you've got again, who knows if that's going to come through on the recording. I'll tell you how I figured this out on my next cymbal in a minute. But if the cymbals are basically in the same pitch range as rivets, you won't hear anything. And when I realized that, I went over to my cymbal rack and got out this, which is a 19, who cares what year it is, Paiste Traditionals bottom cymbal, 1,212 grams, medium light hi-hat, kind of chunky, a lot of hammering, but when they talk about Traditionals being dark, this along with the top I've got for it, that's a pretty dark cymbal. So now, between this and the the traditionals top, I've got two cymbals that are out of the pitch range of the rivets. Now, to confirm this, I could have just gotten out the drill, fired up the drill press at that point and dropped them in, but I still was a little bit leery. Now, do I want to put in, who knows what I did to the resale value on this? It's worth it because I'm not planning on selling these anytime soon. But that was what caught me, was the pitch difference right here. And if I compare just this cymbal, the pitch of the cymbal and the sound of the rivets versus just doing that to my ears in person, who knows what's going into the computer and the interface, the rivets don't stand out, even just tapping it, the rivets don't stand out as much on the 602. But before I drilled, and I went back a couple of weeks back and forth on this, and I know someone's going to want me to take the rivets out and play this and record it without the rivets, but these split rivets, you fold over the edge here, and I've straightened them back out, they snap off half the time, and sorry, I'm not that devoted. I don't want it to, it's only a couple of bucks, but I don't want it to use new rivets on this. So I'm going to leave it as. That's why I'm doing the 3 different cymbals for comparisons. But what I did to check to see, am I going to notice this, is I took a couple of rivets, this is before drilling, took a couple of rivets and tied each one, come on Jimmy, I used to have motor skills, tied each one to, and this piece is a little bit long, but a piece of dental floss. Just tied the rivet to it, and then the tiniest bit of gaffer tape that I could get, taped it to the inside, and tried these 4 rivets taped, just tacked to the inside of the cymbal, and let them on there, and so you would hear the cymbal, the rivet would be resting on it. See if I can make this happen. Well, you're not going to hear it because of these rivets here, but this rivet would be bouncing against the top. So this was as close as I could get to testing it. I keep hitting that microphone today. As close as I can get to testing it without actually putting a hole in the cymbal. So taped 4 rivets around there, set it up, kind of sort of heard it, but I wasn't sure, wasn't sold, but I wasn't discouraged either. What I decided to do, and this is what you can, obviously I decided to drill. You can see the rivets in here. What I decided to do was just play it for a week. I think maybe it was even 2 weeks. And just play it. Not think about it, just play it. Get used to the sound of it. And then after that week, 2 weeks, I took them out. Question would be, did I notice a difference? And I noticed it when they weren't there. I didn't hear it when they were there, but I noticed them when they weren't there. For me, it was like having the right amount of garlic in a recipe. If you have order something at a restaurant and you take a bite and you're thinking, oh my God, the garlic. It's too much in there. But if you're eating something, there's something missing here, then maybe they forgot to put the garlic in the recipe. That's the comparison I can make. And this was just that extra little bit of flavor to the sound of the cymbal that was missing when I took it out. And at that point, I took it downstairs, fired up the press, and put the 4 rivets in. So very subtle effect, and you will hear the recordings in a moment. And one other thing I was going to say completely slipped my mind here. Give myself a second, see if it comes back. I'm having one of those moments. If I think about it, I'll add it at the end. So again, it's a subtlety. It's there. It's nice. This is what I wanted to say. Because of the pitch difference, these are really dark cymbals. About 3 years ago, I was thinking of selling this and the corresponding traditionals top cymbal to a friend of mine, and took it out and had him try it on a gig. And after a couple of, we were playing on the same gig. So after a couple of songs, he turned to me and says, "Man, these are really dark." I said, "Yeah, they are." So what these did is adding the high sound to the rivet. It's almost like EQing the cymbal. It added a little bit of high end to it. I don't know, you're going to say, "Jim, can you play it without the rivets?" I'm not going to do that. You take my word for it on this one. But if you have really dark cymbals, and I'm thinking, what does Gad use? Well, he had old K's for a while, and now he's got the modern equivalent, dark cymbals. What does Nussbaum use? He had old K's, maybe still uses them, probably still using pretty dark cymbals. Maybe that's why for those guys, it's something they really like and they really use. I can't speak to McFleetwood or Bun E. Carlos. I've never spoken to either of those gentlemen, but they are not playing piano trio jazz, and they swear by it. So if you are at all curious if your cymbals might be a good candidate, pick up some rivets. You could pick up a couple of the dimes. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's a substitute. And tiniest bit of tape, because if you all know this, if you put a certain amount of tape on a cymbal, it affects the sustain and the sound, and so tiny little half-inch square at most is what I put on there to put tape where I would cut it short to the right length. But again, just a tiny little bit. Tape a rivet in there. You can get rivets for a bag for like $5. They're not expensive. Or you can get rivets at the hardware store. I can't find rivets exactly like this, but you can find enough to give it a try. And play with it for a while. Leave it on for a while and take them off. See if you notice it. See if you hear them when they're there. See if you don't hear them when they're not there. And it could be just one little way to fine-tune the sound of your instrument. So I will wrap up. Again, like as with the previous video I recorded this afternoon, I just barreled past the point of being expeditious about 10 minutes ago. So I will wrap it up now. Thanks for checking this out. These audio recordings of the cymbals in question will follow in a moment. Thanks for checking out the video. I'll catch you next time.